How some carriers give you so little for your older busted phone you just end up living with it? I don't think so. Verizon lets you trade in your broken phone for a shiny new one. You break it, we upgrade it.
You dunk it, doggy bone it,
slam it, wham it, strawberry jam it. We upgrade it.
Get a 5G phone on us with select plans.
every customer, current, new, or business.
Because everyone deserves better. And with plans starting at just $35, better costs less than you think.
Today is Friday, December 17, 2021. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network, live in Atlanta. The 2021 Cricket Wireless Celebration Bowl in less than an hour. The Southwest Athletic Conference is going to have their Hall of Fame banquet. We will talk with the Commissioner, Charles McClellan, about their honorees, but also about the expansion the conference has undergone this year. We also talk with the outgoing and the incoming commissioners of the MEAC conference as well. Also, a big announcement today. Cricket Wireless announced a 6-year extension of them sponsoring the Celebration Bowl. Also, in today's news, Kim Potter testifies on her behalf in her trial, where she was on trial for killing Daunte Wright. A lot of stuff we're going to be covering today on the show here in Atlanta, but also news of the day. Folks, it's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Folks, we're here in Atlanta for the 2021 Cricket Wireless Celebration Bowl. We've been covering all the various events surrounding this bowl game. It is the only FCS bowl game that pits the winners of the MEAC and the SWAC conference against one another for a 7-figure payday. Lots of activities that have been going on over the last several days. We've been covering them extensively right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered, as well as the Black Star Network. And joining us right now is the Commissioner of the SWAC Conference, Charles McClellan. Glad to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So this is look, it's a big deal for both of these conferences to be able to have this bowl game, to be able to generate the revenue for the conferences, as opposed to going to the FCS playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the Southwestern Athletic Conference stopped going to the FCS playoffs back in 1999. We actually decided to have a championship game. The Bayou Classic really was the impetus for doing that, because that game is always the week after. So oftentimes Southern and Grambling were our best teams, and they couldn't go. So the decision was made to have our championship game. So we were a little ahead of the MEAC in wanting the Celebration Bowl. And once they made that decision, I think neither conference has looked back.
And one of the things that when I talked with Commissioner Thomas, he said it was real difficult to get his folks to agree to that because so many wanted to be a part of that playoff system. But he said, look, it's not making any money for us.
Well, the playoff system is tough. And what a lot of people don't know about the FCS playoffs is that you have to pay your own way to go. And if you host, you have to bid, and part of that money goes to the NCAA. So for most institutions, it's not a money-making opportunity. And then when you look at the overall competitiveness of it, quite often it was like the basketball tournament. The SWAC team and the MEAC team was always playing the #1 team in the nation. You know, it's kind of tough to go to North Dakota State from Lorman, Mississippi, and win a football game, right? So for us, we just did not feel that it made sense. Our record overall before 1999 was 0-16, 0-17. But when you start talking about the Celebration Bowl, when you start talking about pitting two champions against each other, that's going to go for the National College Black Championship. When you talk about a true bowl experience, and when you talk about the only two FCS conferences that participate in a bowl system that was set up for FBS conferences, and then when you talk about ABC, there is no way in the world you could go back and look at the FCS playoffs and say that this opportunity is not as good or even better than the FCS opportunity.
You also had some expansion this year in your conference.
Yeah, we did. We brought in Bethune-Cookman University and Florida A&M University, and part of the goal was not only to have a team here in the Celebration Bowl, but to get an at-large team into the FCS playoffs, and we were successful in doing that this year, where Florida A&M was selected to participate in the FCS playoffs.
So you got the best of both worlds.
We got the best of both worlds, and that was a part of the plan.
But also, having those two teams in your conference also expands your footprint to the state of Florida.
Oh, no doubt. Bringing in FAMU and Bethune was very instrumental in this overall success and fever that we're starting to feel in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. When you bring in two rapid fan bases, when you bring in two institutions that are the center of black college, you know, and to team them up with the 10 that we have, it was a win-win for both. And we're just ecstatic to be able to have those two. And SWAC, you know, we got a long ways to go, but I tell you, it's going to be a fun ride.
How are you also positioning this conference for the future? Because what you're dealing with here is, we're seeing the movement of the Power 5 conferences. Texas and Oklahoma lead the Big 12. They go to the SEC. You're seeing just all of that going on. And so how do you remain competitive in this environment?
Well, I think that's a great question. You know, you're talking about a conference that's been around for 100 years. You're talking about a conference, again, that has every major Division I HBCU college or university in its conference now, from Texas all the way to Florida. When it comes to black college athletics, we want to take the thing over and we want to insulate ourselves. So if we can generate enough revenue, you look at what Jackson State did. You know, they had championship game 50,000. Alcorn State game 60,000. The game before that they had 55,000. If we can continue to put those numbers in there, FAMU sold out homecoming, Alabama A&M sold out homecoming, Alcorn sold out homecoming, Mississippi Valley State sold out homecoming, and now the sponsors and the corporate partners are coming in. We have increased our corporate sponsorship and partnership program by almost 6,000% from the time that we took over to now. And as you look at additional television opportunities, we think that we can compete with some of the Group of 5 institutions. As a matter of fact, from a revenue generation, we're 3 years away from out generating them from a revenue standpoint. So we think that we're very strong and very well positioned to be able to continue to carve out the footprint and change the landscape. And I think that's another point. We're not going to sit back and let the landscape dictate what we do. We're actively involved with the NCAA and the legislative process. We're going to change the landscape to benefit the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
You also have an opportunity, the big news this week, the #1 football player in the country choosing to go to Jackson State. That's a huge coup not only for the school, but also for the conference.
Right. Name, image, and likeness. Now, if you go back and you check the books, there were 5 conferences that voted to change the name, image, and likeness legislation. So the NCAA put all of these committees together. And at the end, we took a look at it. It was the SEC, it was the Pac-12, the ACC, the Sun Belt, the SWAC, and one other conference. And people ask me, why is the SWAC even involved with SEC? Your interests are not the same. Well, actually, they are. You look at what Coach Prime has done. You take his ability to be able to generate that corporate interest, and if name, image, and likeness, if it's good enough for you to get paid to go to the University of Florida, should be good enough for you to get paid going to Jackson State University. And we wanted the rules to be as flexible as possible, because when you look at it, the state law takes precedent over everything, and each state has different laws with different abilities. So we wanted the NCAA rule to be able to allow whatever the state rule is or state law is to be able to govern it. And I think it is going to open up eyes. I think that it's going to show that you can be a 5-star, come to a Jackson State, get coached by a great coaching staff, get a name, image, and likeness deal, and be able to go pro. And that's the only reason why they're going to these Power 5 schools over the SWAC schools. So I think NLI kind of leveled the playing field, and it'll be our job to make sure that we continue to keep that playing field level. I think you're going to start to see more of a trend based upon that one decision.
And I think what this boils down to is when we talk about, you know, what's happening with SWAC, with the MEAC, it's the building blocks of these institutions. You know, I'm always talking about how we have to build the capacity of our black institutions.
No question. And Commissioner Dennis Thomas, you know, he's announced his retirement. We've had a lot of retirement talk today, and he seems happy. I'm sad, right? We're losing an icon. We're losing a voice. We're losing someone that is very instrumental. We're losing someone that has built all of this. So when you talk about expanding on where we are now, we're losing someone that's, I don't think that can be replaced. Sonia Steele, myself, we're going to work together to try to move this thing forward. And there's a lot of heavy lifting to be done by virtue of Commissioner Dennis Thomas leaving. In a little bit, you're going to have your SWAC Hall of Fame event. Absolutely. We're excited. We have 8 individuals that we're going to join a group of outstanding individuals. We're giving Dr. Dennis Thomas the Lifetime Achievement Award, and it's just an honor, honestly, to be Commissioner Roland. I grew up in Jackson, Mississippi. I used to go to Mississippi Veterans Memorial Stadium and watch people play that I'm now handing awards to. And for, as Commissioner Thomas says, a little country boy from Mississippi, man, that's an awesome thing.
All right, then. Well, look, certainly good luck in what you're building here. Again, I'm a Texas A&M graduate, but I went to Jack Yates High School and right across the street at Texas Southern University. So I know a little bit about the SWAC,
right.
Being with TSU being right. there, and of course Prairie View A&M being right down the road right. From Houston as well.
Well, I am a Prairie View graduate. I was athletic director at Texas Southern. What you might not know is I'm a graduate of Texas A&M. As well. So know your legacy very well. We've always been proud of you. We've adopted you as our son of Texas Southern University. A lot of people don't know that you graduated from Texas A&M. A lot of people out there think you graduated from Texas Southern. So keep doing what you're doing, and we appreciate everything.
I appreciate it. We'll do. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot. All right, folks, so we're going to go to a break. We come back, we're going to hear from the outgoing MEAC commissioner, but also the sister who is taking his place. We'll also show you the announcement of Cricket Wireless announcing a 6-year extension of them sponsoring this Celebration Bowl. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network, broadcasting live from Atlanta. Back in a moment.
Betty is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon, so now she's free to become Bear Hug Betty. Settle in, kids. You'll be there a while. Ooh, where you going? Try it first.
I'm Chrisette Michelle.
Hi, I'm Chaley Rose, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered here on the Black Star Network. We're broadcasting from the media room here in Atlanta, the 2021 Cricket Wireless Celebration Bowl, pitting Jackson State versus South Carolina State, the SWAC versus the MEAC Conference. One of the things about folks don't really understand most of these bowl games, they actually created to serve as tourism for cities. When you think about the Rose Bowl, when you think about the Orange Bowl, the major bowls, that's really what the system that was created. And so you talk about the significant amount of dollars in terms of bringing people to a city. And so my next guest is responsible for tourism coming to Jackson, Mississippi. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's get right into this because, look, it is one thing to come here, but your job is trying to get people to come to Jackson.
That's correct.
How does this bowl game, the attention you receive, how does that help the city?
Well, it just raises the marketability of Jackson University. And the home of Jackson State University is Jackson, Mississippi. We experienced record numbers this year for an amazing football season, which really translated to about $30 million in economic impact for the city of Jackson. And so the better the team does, the better the city does. So we work really closely with athletics to make sure that the marketability is strong and that people can understand that we have a great school, a great football program, a great athletic program, but also a great arts, culture, and those other amenities that make people want to come and visit the city.
And so when you talk about that $30 million impact with them selling those games out, we're talking about hotels, we're talking about restaurants, we're talking about all of, car rentals, all of those things.
That's correct. People, we sold out, the Metro Jackson area sold out, but we also sold out as far as 60, 70 miles away. We're talking about people going to gas stations and grocery stores and buying ice and, liquor stores and restaurants and hotels and clothing stores. So it all, this really makes our community understand and appreciate the value of tourism in a very significant way.
Well, and when we talk about that, we're talking about also helping black-owned businesses.
That's correct. It really, it again, raises the marketability and value of HBCUs because traditionally, I know in our business, most of the attention has been on the PWIs. But now we have a HBCU that is bringing the color that everybody recognizes, and that's green. And so really excited about that and working again with them to make sure that next year we can build upon the momentum and let's do it again.
Are you also seeing Jackson and Mississippi businesses also embracing the university?
Definitely. So corporate sponsorships are much easier. In fact, they're knocking on Jackson University's door now. I had a conversation with the athletic director, and we've been a very strong corporate sponsor for a long time. He said, I'm not going to kick you out because you've been there when nobody else was there. So that's just an example of things that are happening.
All right, then. Well, certainly good luck with that. And as they say, your business, look, it's about increasing the revenue flow.
That's right.
All right. Good luck.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it.
All right.
I want to bring in my panel right now, folks. Michael M. Hotep, host of the African History Network. Michael joins me right now. Faraji Muhammad, radio and TV host, and also Matt Manning, civil rights attorney. I'm glad to have you here. I'm going to start with you, Michael. What we're talking about here, Michael, is the rebuilding of black institutions. I talked about this yesterday. It's capacity. That's what we're seeing with these two teams, with these conferences, but also how it impacts the broader community of black-owned businesses.
Absolutely, Roland, and it's good to have you back as well. This is about building these teams, building these institutions, getting people like Travis Hunter to Jackson State University. This reminds me of when the Negro Leagues were being picked apart by Major League Baseball. And a lot of the best players from the Negro Leagues were taken away from the majors. And now I think people are really primed to really understand that these, many of our best high school athletes need to go to HBCUs. Need to go to HBCUs. And then you deal with, you just had the interview, we deal with the businesses that surround these institutions, especially African-American owned businesses, being able to profit from people going to the games and things like this. So this is dealing with building up these educational institutions, but also economic empowerment when it comes to businesses around them as well. And, hats off to Deion Sanders also. I think it's brilliant what Deion Sanders is doing also.
One of the things, Faraji, that folks may not get. I mean, I'm sure there are people who are watching this show who are saying, okay, all this attention y'all are paying to this bowl game, it's a lot more important stuff that's happening in the black community. But this is what's happening in the black community. This is the building of our institutions, and I think it's one of the things that frustrates me is when too many of our people have a very small world view of what is happening in terms of how we are able to build institutions, to grow institutions, and so covering this, bringing awareness to it is important because we've got to stop playing small ball.
Right. Oh, you know, that's the big thing right there, Brother Roland. And I love the conversation you just had before you with the commission, not with the commissioner, with the other brother. But you're talking about the fact that a lot of black institutions were born out of the frustration because white institutions and white platforms and white infrastructures did not accept us, whether you're talking about the church, whether you're talking about our political party, or whether you're talking about an athletic conference. It comes out of the fact that white people, if they bring us in, they bring us in at a lower amount, lower rate. If they bring us in, they want to usurp our talent. And so we have gotten to a place, and I think this is fantastic that we do talk about these things, because we have gotten to a place to show that, look, when you are frustrated, when dissatisfaction can be the fuel to bring about the change that you've been hoping and praying for. And so if folks don't see the power moves that are being made, one of our YouTube watchers said that, big power moves. If folks don't see the power moves that are being made in terms of taking black athletes, especially college athletes, where we know, Brother Roland, it felt like just yesterday where a black college athlete had possession and power over his or her image, likeness, and how they're going to use their brand, right? But for years, the NCAA has been just basically just sucking the life out of black college athletes, right? Putting them on posters, putting them in commercials and all of that. And yet that black college athlete is kind of left in this predicament where they're not able to make money, where they're not able to really gain from all of the work that they've been putting in. And so, yes, this is necessary. And people say, well, it's just about sports. No, it's not just about sports. It's about empowerment. It's about money. It's about us saying that in this space of sports and entertainment, we need to have some level of ownership. In this space of sports and entertainment, we need to dictate our own future. And that's the place that we're in right now. So it's awesome that we are having a celebration bowl. It's awesome that corporations are looking to fund this whole endeavor. But my hope is, Brother Roland, as you talk to the commission about, that we can bring, large-scale black-owned businesses into the fold, right? And not just have Coca-Cola or Cricket or any other person kind of just keeping folks at bay, but you're bringing in those small black businesses, bringing them into the conversations, bringing them at the table, so that way there can be full, complete community ownership of black people. You have black athletes being supported by black businesses. I mean, this is the start of something fantastic.
And Matt, that point there, when you talk about your HBCUs, the businesses that surround these institutions typically are black owned. When you talk about your restaurants, when you talk about your other businesses, and so when you have people coming back to those campuses, attending those games, it is driving economic development for our community.
It absolutely is. And as a Howard grad, I first have to say go MEAC, but I spent many a dollar at football games and otherwise at the businesses that were around Howard and that supported myself and all the other students. And it's beyond just the economic impact. Those business owners are the same people who checked to make sure I was doing my work in school and make sure I was going to graduate on time. So it's a community that's around these institutions, and the institutions really provide invaluable resources to the community, obviously beyond the educational impact, but also the economic impact. So it's a wonderful thing, but I got to say, go MEAC.
All right, then. Got to go to a break. We come back. We're going to talk with the retiring commissioner of the MEAC Conference, Dennis Thomas. That's next on Roland Martin Unfiltered, right here on the Black Star Network, live from Atlanta.
Are the stars out tonight?
Alexa, play our favorite song again.
Okay.
I only have eyes for you.
I'm Eric Nolan.
I'm Shantae Moore.
Hi, my name is LaToya Luckett, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered. We're joined now by the retired commissioner of the MEAC conference, Dennis Thomas. So you don't have to do all this stuff next year, all of the duties and events and news conferences, and you can just chill.
Well, Roland, it'll be in good hands. Sonia Steele, the commissioner-elect, is ready, and she's going to do a absolutely fantastic job.
You should also feel good after today's announcement of the extension of Cricket Wireless for 6 years as a sponsor of this bowl.
Absolutely. We are very pleased that corporate America has invested in HBCUs and in this bowl game. And it is absolutely critical that we continue to receive the kind of investments from corporate America.
Are you getting calls and emails from some of your other peers saying, man, how in the heck did y'all pull this thing off?
Well, I got calls in 2004 when we first asked ESPN to invest in a bowl concept that I brought to ESPN. And ESPN said sign off on it. Then I went back to my membership and was very enthusiastic about it because I thought that this was absolutely the right thing.
You thought it was a lock?
Absolutely. And our membership said that pump the brakes a minute, Dennis. We want to remain in the playoffs. And so this is an absolutely tremendous opportunity that we need to take advantage of. We'll have new revenue streams. We'll get branding. We'll get promotion. We get marketing. And we will also be able to recruit students, just not student athletes, to students. Give us another platform for our student athletes and coaches. And so we worked for 10 years to bring this to fruition. And the kicker was when I asked for an audience with John Skipper, who was the president and CEO of ESPN. And he granted an audience, and I asked him to come and talk to our presidents and chancellors. And he agreed to it. And then that's when we got traction. And finally, the presidents and chancellors agreed to send our champion to the postseason bowl game.
One of the frustrations that I've always had in my career is trying to get many of our black institutions to be ahead of the curve as opposed to being behind the curve. For you to sit here and for it to be a decade, if you go back to it, that's a decade of revenue lost, a decade of opportunity. We saw with COVID, a lot of churches, they didn't want to do stuff online. They didn't care about it. Then COVID hit, they had no choice. I can tell you I've run 3 black newspapers. Conversations that I've had with black publishers 20 years ago, and they're trying to do the stuff now. And that's one of the greatest frustrations I've always had is trying to get our institutions to embrace going to the next level.
I think that's accurate. And I know that the biggest challenge for the visionary is to get the people who will be effectuated to see the vision. And that is difficult because they can't see what you see. But you got to go about a strategy to bring them along so they can actually picture what you actually see. And see, most people can see down the highway, but a visionary can see around the corner, where normal people can't see that. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference. And you can't give up on your vision. Through all adversities, to all circumstances, you got to keep hammering away at it. Mm-hmm. Keep hammering away. And I gain insights and I gain motivation from my forefathers and mothers because they had it worse than you or me. Mm-hmm. But they made it. They made it better for us. So my mindset is very simple. Don't give up on the vision because the people before you didn't. And you owe it to them not to give up.
Where do you want to see the MEAC and the SWAC in this bowl game 10 years from now?
I want to see a sold-out stadium. I want to see corporate America continue to invest. And I want to see students all across the globe seeing our institution as a viable option for an education. Not just, see, this is bigger than a game. In my mind, it's bigger than a game. And you got to look at this from a holistic perspective. How does this advance our messaging for all of our institutions? How does this advance our mission? And we have to, and we must become more diverse if we're going to stay relevant. And we just can't be all black anymore. We still can maintain our mission, our goals and objectives, but we have to serve all of America in order for us to grow, in order for us to sustain our stability, in order for us to be better to corporate America and improve our value not only to our community, but to our world.
When you talk about leaving, what's the one thing you're going to miss?
Relationships. I got in this business to make a difference with student athletes. And relationship with student athletes has always been on the forefront. And developing student athletes to be better people. And also, you have to understand people talking about getting your degree. That's great. That's the bottom line. But you have to be educated. A lot of people with degrees are not educated. Okay? Now, you want to take that holistic approach where you are inculcating and imbuing these students to their fullest potential, God-given ability. Now, that's what we should all be about. And whatever that takes, then we have to have the right strategy to implement that. And that strategy different from campus to campus, from individual to individual. Now, that's, in Dennis Thomas' humble opinion, what we should be about.
All right. Well, look, we are looking forward to, you getting the Lifetime Achievement Award from the SWAC, the Hall of Fame there. You've been honored by a competing conference, so that's always a little different.
Well, it's not a competing conference. I'm part of the MEAC. I played in the MEAC. I was educated in the MEAC, Alcorn State University. I just happened to be the commissioner of the MEAC. And
but you do want the MEAC to win that game, Sam?
No question. No question. And by the way, I'm happy you brought that up, Roland. You know, out of the 5 bowls, Celebration Bowl, the MEAC won 4 of them. Okay? So you know, we kind of at 90% right now, you know? So all the people that say that, well, you know, the MEAC, you know, they're not as strong this year as they have been. Well, that is yet to be seen. And we'll let tomorrow determine that.
So you're saying you got all the hype with Deion, but the championship's with the MEAC.
There's one thing about athletics. They keep score. At the end of the day, they keep score. And whoever ends up with the most points, you know, wins the game.
All right.
So talking the game ain't the game.
Always good seeing you. We appreciate it. Good luck in retirement.
Thank you, sir.
And enjoy yourself.
Thank you.
All right, folks, when we come back, we're going to show you some of the news conferences earlier, both of the coaches here at the 2021 Cricket Wireless Celebration Bowl. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Are the stars out tonight?
Alexa, play our favorite song again.
Okay.
I only have eyes for you.
Maureen is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon, so now she's free to become Maureen the Merrier. Food is her love language, and she really loves her grandson. Like, really loves.
What's up, y'all? I'm Will Packer.
Hello, I'm Bishop T.D.J.
What up, Lana Well, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
So we're here to announce to you that this year, we're just announcing a new 6-year extension for the Cricket Celebration Bowl to be hosted here at this beautiful venue on Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We're delighted to be partnered again with the Mercedes-Benz Stadium family, and our good friend Tim Zalowski and his team have been wonderful with us over the last 6. And so announcing the new 6-year deal here will bring the Cricket Celebration Bowl to a world-class venue to showcase world-class talent on this wonderful stage. So just wanted to announce that to you today and turn it over to my friend Tim here for any additional comments.
First and foremost, it is our pleasure to obviously announce what the 6-year extension. John and the team at the Celebration Bowl and ESPN have been outstanding partners with our organization, and it gives us great pride to host the first game in the College Bowl season each year with the Celebration Bowl taking place here, the Cricket Celebration Bowl. So we set out at Mercedes-Benz Stadium to bring the best events from around the world to Atlanta. We function either as the heartbeat of Atlanta, or if you come in here as a fan for any of our events, we try to welcome you home. And there's not a better way to do so than the partnership we have with John Grant, the folks at ESPN, and the Celebration Bowl. So, John, thank you very much for the commitment you've had to our enterprise for the next 6 years. We look forward to an exhilarating match tomorrow with a sold-out capacity and many more years of it to come.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
First of all, I'm thankful. Elated. I'm happy. Unbelievably blessed week. Wonderful honor. This gentleman right here has been outstanding. When I tell you that this is really, truly a bowl game, I was blessed to attend 4 bowls at my tenure at FSU. And this, if I say this is the best one, they're going to think I'm trying to hate on FSU, especially with the recent actions. But this has been a great bowl week. It's unbelievable. I can't wait, and I'm excited about the game. That's my opening statement. Appreciate all you for coming here. I really do. I appreciate it. I really do. I'm pretty sure we hadn't had this type of involvement in the past, and I'm thankful and I'm elated to be addition to provoke this type of change that we're seeing right now. Let's do this.
Coach, we'll start in the back, standing up.
Coach Sanders, Tolly Carr with HBCU Game Day back on the riser.
Right here you go.
Hey,
my man.
Good.
How you doing, sir?
Great. Powerful week with recruiting and Travis Hunter, and just we've all seen that. I'm wondering for you, the amount of power that gave him and that he showed the country, and the amount of power that Jackson State and other HBCUs are starting to show. What does it mean for you to be involved with people and a movement that becomes bigger than themselves and they start to see that power?
Well, I'm pretty certain that this is why I'm here. I'm pretty certain this is why God led me to Jackson State University, to HBCU, to the SWAC. I'm pretty certain that's why. I tried to tell you, nobody wanted to listen. You thought I was just running the mouth. And it was not that. I truly believe. We stand by that word, I believe, and we truly believe that it's going to be a change. Everything I've done in my life, I provoke change. Why not now? You think I was just going to be a head coach and there's no change and we continue to do the same foolishness that we've done? We're not going to do that anymore. It's a systemic cancer that we got to get rid of. We got to stop. We got to stop. We got to change every darn thing that we can possibly do. This is a new kid. This is a new generation. This is a new thing. and we got to be open to change. And that's all we've done at Jackson State with the help of our beloved AD, Ashley Robinson. We provoke change in every aspect of the word.
I was originally committed to FAU, and a couple weeks after that, that's when my dad got the job at Jackson State. So we was just walking around each other at the house, and I just got to the point where it was, all right, Pops, talk to me. Like, what is it? So then we sat down, we talked about it. He never recruited me doing it, though. Like, I was on the calls with the other coaches. I was already at the school, and then I just felt like it was the best situation for me. And my whole recruiting process, I wanted to go somewhere and play right away. I'm not going for go there, sit a year, learn from this guy. I feel like experience is the best thing in learning. So I knew regardless of wherever you go, you'll have the attention and have the spotlight wherever. So I just felt like this was the best place, and for our people too.
Shedeur, can you explain in your own words what's special about the HBCU experience?
I mean, you see it. You see just the fans, just everything coming to fold now. I just remember picturing walking to the empty stadium and just looking around, just praying, like not knowing what the season has to come. And the magnitude of everything we're doing now, it just really showed that God's real.
Shedeur, you talk about the decision you made to come. You know, you were a 4-star. You were the highest recruit at that point. Now you guys just got another young man that has committed to you all, who's highly rated. Just talk about, what it is. You said you guys chose to come to Jackson State, and now he's chosen to come to Jackson State. What do you think it is that makes those young men who their father isn't the coach, what makes them want to come to Jackson State?
I mean, just seeing how real it is. I mean, you guys are teammates. It's not a relationship with my pops where, okay, I get special treatment and stuff like that. Like, I'm human too. Like, I'm a regular player too. So I feel like just the players and just teammates seeing how everything's so genuine and how down to earth our coaching staff and coaches is, and they understand what it's like to be one of us in our situation.
Guys, thank you all for coming. Appreciate you coming to check on us. We've been going through a neat week here at the Celebration Bowl. I got to first thank all of the sponsors, all of the operational folks, starting with John Grant. John is the executive director of the Celebration Bowl. John has done a fantastic job of running this thing. I've been involved with other bowl games, and I can tell you that this is as well run as any game I've ever been associated with. The sponsors, starting with John Dwyer from Cricket Wireless, the Coca-Cola folk, the Delta came in there in Columbia, brought all their top-notch people in and flew us in from Columbia to Atlanta. That was a fun little trip. It was kind of fun in a way because, I mean, we bust to Delaware. I mean, so you come back and take the plane to Atlanta. It was truly an exciting kind of opportunity that way. So we've got to thank all of the folk that are involved here with the Celebration Bowl and say that it was truly a pleasure to be a part of this particular fair this way. And we look forward to seeing if we can come out on Saturday and play against these Jackson State Tigers. Everybody knows Jackson's the favorite. We all know that they've got Deion and all of his highfalutinous and all the different kinds of stuff. I was a fan when he was playing for everybody, for two teams. He was playing football, basketball, and baseball, and track and golf and all that kind of stuff at the same time. So the guy, is probably the, I guess maybe top all-around athlete maybe of all times as far as I can remember doing our generation here. So the guy's been fantastic as far as his athleticism and his play and all these different. And then on top of that, then the guy comes in, and makes the coaching game look easy. He's been here for less than a year, and he's won all the top awards. I've been coaching for 45 years and hadn't had, some of these accolades and stuff of that kind that he's had. So it's been a fun run to see him rise to the top of the league, and he's done a little bit for us all. I got to be honest and say that I'm sure some of the numbers that we've had as far as the record ticket sales and that kind of stuff are somewhat, I guess, dependent upon the fact that that he's got there doing what he does. But South Carolina State folk have done a nice job themselves. We've been extremely excited about this thing. The build up from the time that we won our conference to now, has been tremendous in the way that our fans have gotten excited about and done, a great job of coming together and being a part of this thing too. So I'm looking forward to seeing our fan base out there against their fan base, along with the fact that our team is going to be against their team. Our band is going to be against their band. So this is going to be a fun experience for us all. So I'm looking forward to this and many, many more Celebration Bowls to come, because I think we've got something here. I think we've got a model that might be good as ever. Y'all ready for me to shut up? Rick? No, yeah, I know you are. Okay.
All right, folks, when we come back, we'll talk with the winner of the Jerry Rice Award for the best player in the FCS, Deion Sanders, the first HBCU player to actually win that award. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
Are the stars out tonight?
Alexa, play our favorite song again.
Okay.
I only have eyes
Know who Roland Martin is. He got the ascot on, he do the news. It's fancy news.
Keep it rolling. Right here. Rolling.
Roland Martin.
Right now.
You are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, could it be any other way? Really? It's Roland Martin.
My next guest is not just the son of the head football coach, he's also the starting quarterback. And this week found out that he is the winner of the Jerry Rice Award for the best player in the FCS. The first time a HBCU player has won that award, named after HBCU great from Mississippi Valley State, Shedeur Sanders. How you doing, Doc?
I'm doing good. How are you?
So how does that feel, being the first one? I mean, first is named after Jerry Rice.
Yeah, I mean, who else could have won it? Who else could have won it? You saw what I did out there. You saw the numbers I put up, and really the team. So you see what team I got around me.
Have you heard from Jerry Rice? He was a teammate of your dad's in San Francisco.
I spoke with him in the past.
Talk about this season and how it's gone. 11-1 season, a lot of hype, a lot of attention, and the fan base has really embraced what y'all have been able to do.
I feel like it's a pretty darn good season to me. Offensively, we're putting up numbers. We could be doing more. Defensively, you see with that side of the ball. You see that teams are having trouble scoring on them. So I feel like overall it's a good time. It's a good year, and you see just the media around HBCU football now.
A lot of times you'll have quarterbacks who might disagree with their coaches. You're in a unique situation because when you look to the sideline, it's not just the head coach, but it's also dad.
Yes, sir.
So do you? And so what has that relationship been like as well in terms of when it comes to game day?
I mean, he's been my coach for my whole life. We've been doing the same thing in high school. We won a championship in high school all 4 years. So it's nothing new. It's just like we're just doing history again.
Well, that's still also a little bit different because you also the whole dynamic of other players as well having a dad and a coach. It's not the first time you've had players that have been coached by their father. What do you want people to know about your dad as a coach? They see prime time, they see the player, they saw him when he was in the NFL. But what should they know about him as a coach?
I mean, you could tell he's a genuine person. He's gonna tell you straight up the real. You here at the HBCU, he's not gonna lie to you about anything. So I feel like he understands what situation we're in, and like just as students of the school. So he's been through that before too. He went to college, he did all that. So he's more realistic and he's very reasonable.
Well, and also as somebody who's played at the highest level, considered the greatest cornerback to play in the NFL. So I take it when it comes to your defense, listening to him, they probably listen a little bit more intently based upon their track record.
No, I feel like everybody listens to him. It's not just a defensive thing. It's just like offense, we just got to get going. That's all it is. We just got to put up more yards, put up more numbers. Defense is just, they got more experience on that side of the ball.
I talked to South Carolina State coach a couple of days ago, and he said the strength of our team is our defense. He said so they should expect a strong test come Saturday.
I mean, hey, I feel like in the SWAC we play good defense week in and week out.
Now, I just talked to Commissioner Dennis Thomas. He did remind me of the 5 Celebration Bowls. The MEAC has won 4 of those 5.
I mean, nobody else is doing numbers how we do. You see it's a new thing. You see it's a new year. You see everything's different.
So you said y'all look at the change, that trajectory in the past as opposed to SWAC coming to this game and not taking the title home.
I mean, this is the thing. We're not just living in the past. It's a new day. You see the fans. You see we're on SportsCenter every week. You see the difference. We don't have to talk about it. You see it. So obviously you feel like the outcome's going to be the same how it is the year before. That's just something you're just going to have to think.
How has it been looking up on those stands? We showed the video from earlier today. You talked about going to some games and seeing a lot of empty seats. But this year, seeing a lot of those seats filled for the first time.
Oh, it's amazing. When you got the vet packed with all of our people, it's a different feeling. It's something that I've been in a lot of college football games, really just on visits and everything, but this is different. You come out during halftime, you see 1,000 people on the field. It's the band, everybody, J-Sets, everybody. So it's just a real different experience that I feel like a lot of kids in our culture need to understand and need to see how it is.
Do you also believe that folks at Jackson State not only are waiting for halftime, but they're also waiting for y'all to come out in the second half? Because one thing you hear a lot of HBCU fans, they're like, yeah, okay, once second half comes, it's always about the halftime performance as opposed to what's happening on the field.
I don't really think you say that about our team. Yeah, I feel like we're entertaining throughout the whole game.
Okay. Well, look, it's going to be a great game tomorrow. Of course, on ABC, national audience. It's not going to be on ESPN on one of the digital channels. Only one of 4 bowl games. It's going to be on broadcast, and so the whole country actually gets to see what you can do and what South Carolina State can do.
Yes, sir.
All right, we're looking forward to it. Certainly, good luck at tomorrow's game, and give them hell.
Yes, sir.
All right, then, folks. Again, we're going to come back. We're going to talk some news of the day. Kim Potter testifies in her trial in Minneapolis. Also, noted author, feminist Bell Hooks passed away. We'll also talk about that as well. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network, live in Atlanta, the 2021 Cricket Wireless Celebration Bowl.
Are the stars out tonight?
Alexa, play our favorite song again.
Okay.
I only have eyes for you.
Maureen is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon, so now she's free to become Maureen the Merrier. Food is her love language, and she really loves her grandson. Like, really loves.
Hello, everyone. It's Kiara Sheard.
Hey, I'm Taj.
I'm Coco.
And I'm Lily. And we're SWV.
What's up, y'all? It's Ryan Destiny, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
A couple days ago, acclaimed author and feminist Bell Hooks passed away at the age of 69. Of course, her real name was Gloria Jean Watkins. She took her name as a testament, nod to her grandmother. She, of course, focused on topics about feminism and race. She won a number of awards, including the Writers Award from the Lila Wallace Reader's Digest Fund, was named one of the nation's leading public intellectuals for the Atlantic Monthly, also was inducted into the Kentucky Writers Hall of Fame. Joining me now is Dr. Imani Perry. She's professor of African American Studies at Princeton University. Dr. Perry, glad to have you on the show. For folks who don't know about Bell Hooks, who don't know about her writing, why was she so impactful, especially to a whole generation, 2 generations of black women? Many of them were commenting, just shocked and stunned at the passing of Bell Hooks.
Yeah, well, first of all, let me say thank you for having me and thank you for spending the time to talk about her. She was an incredibly brilliant woman, an author of literally dozens of books. She resonated with people because she wrote from the position that she began. She was a country woman. She was from Kentucky, and she became an extraordinary intellectual. And through those experiences, decided to share with people how she thought about gender, how she thought about sexuality, how she thought about class, how she thought about injustice broadly. Her writing was inviting. It wasn't, distant academic language. She reached for people where they are, where they were. And she also, and this is really important, I think, for our communities in particular, she wrote about love. And she wrote about spirituality. And so she really thought that the work of the intellectual was to tend to the entire person and to the entire community.
And when we talk about, again, when I saw the reaction from so many people, they just talked about the power of her writing and how she centered black feminism. That's something that it wasn't an afterthought. It was the center of everything she wrote about.
Yes. I mean, black women were at the center of her calling. And she took the name of her great-grandmother and put the name in lowercase to emphasize. She was interested in we, us collectively, our people, our community, black women's legacies in particular. But she didn't, for her, that was an entry point to thinking about the entire world. So for her, being a black woman wasn't limiting. It was actually a perspective from which one could understand the world in extraordinary ways. But you always, when you opened her book, you knew that you were being seen, that you were being recognized, and that you were important as a black woman reader. But I also think it's really important to say, she loved black men dearly, and she talked about wanting to tend and care for black men as well.
I'm bringing my panel, Michael M. Hotep. I want to start with you, your thoughts on Bell Hooks, and also if you have a question for Dr. Imani Perry.
All right, thanks, Roland. Thanks, Dr. Imani Perry, for coming on today and teaching us more about Bell Hooks. This is a big loss as well. She wrote 40 books translated into 15 different languages. I posted about her death on the African History Network fan page. The question I had, Dr. Imani Perry, and I know you're the person that asked this too, when we deal with and hear about feminism or black feminism, oftentimes African American men are automatically off-put by it. And this has caused factions in the movement for issues pertaining to African Americans. How do we continue to push for issues that are beneficial to African Americans while at the same time not denouncing African American women when they talk about issues that are specifically impact them? Oftentimes when they bring up issues that impact them, they're told that they're being divisive and you should just focus on black issues, not black women issues. How do we move forward? together?
Well, that's a hard question to answer. I mean, I think Gloria, and I called her Gloria instead of Bell Hooks. I mean, when she wrote the book Feminism for Everybody, she was trying to respond to that. I think, my perspective is I think Black liberation is for all Black people. And so one of the ways, so we shouldn't think of our interests as competing, but we should think every sector of our community deserves to be tended to. And that there is no hierarchy in our communities, that we all deserve care. I mean, if there is one, it is our babies come first, right? And so, so that's the ethos. I understand there are a lot of sort of tensions, that we are a complex people. We have differing politics. We have differing perspectives. We're not going to all agree. We're not going to have the same idea about liberation. But I do think if we start from the perspective that we care about all members of our community, that helps.
Okay, thank you.
Faraji?
Oh, I can't hear you.
Faraji, we can't hear you.
Gotcha. Dr. Perry, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. I'm wondering, in terms of Bell Hooks' legacy, what would she say to Black men today about getting involved in the feminist movement, or what role should Black men play in the feminist movement? Because I'm sure that you've heard this. It seems like there's a generation of Black men, younger Black men, that have very different views about the role of women, the role of men, whether it's in the household, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's in the community. So how would Bell Hooks advise us to move forward on making sure that the next generation of Black men is a part of the change to bring about a greater level of respect for Black women?
Well, I mean, I think, and I feel pretty confident saying this because, I spoke to her over the last several years, and everybody, changes and grows. But I think consistently what she tried to talk about was being aware of the very particular kinds of oppressions that all folks in our community experience. So it's hard to, ask people to join a movement without also recognizing what they're experiencing, right? How they might. So I think for young Black men, in the ways that young Black men are targeted and demonized, right? That's also part of the struggle for liberation. And she was very attentive to that. So it's not a sort of, bring you into one side. It's actually bring us all into recognizing each other. Now, that said, she didn't shy away from challenging sexist attitudes and ideas in ways that not everybody liked all the time, but in ways that people found difficult. But this is why I mentioned the point about love, right? So if love is the underlying ethic to everything that you do, and people know that you love them, that makes it a lot easier to accept pushback, criticism, when you know that it's not coming from a place of competition or hostility, but love. And so, it's a long struggle. We've had a hard history. So it's not ever going to be easy, but it's worth fighting for. And that's the lesson she taught us. It's worth fighting for.
Thank you.
Matt Manning.
Good evening, Dr. Perry. Thank you so much for joining us and for teaching us. My question is it's pretty simple. How do we connect Ms. Hooks' teachings to this social moment that we find ourselves in, kind of this inflection point as we're fighting for justice? Please, if you would, edify us on how we can use her teachings to kind of move forward at this point.
Well, I would say, I think, I do think that reading is, I love Ida B. Wells' quote, that people must know before they can act. I think reading should be a ritual practice for all of us because we learn, we become more insightful. But I also think, I think in the words of Ella Baker, the tribe increases, we carry on. So part of the lesson is to read and learn from her and from many others, and then develop our own analyses, right? And try to work together in the now, right? We have this incredible array of ancestors who provide models and who provide insight, but we're also now, we're here, and then we are the ones to continue the work, and understand that it's lifelong work. We're not going to solve these things, but we can make a significant difference.
Thank you.
Dr. Perry, if that was one book of bell hooks that everyone should read, what would that book be?
Oh, gosh, that's a really hard question when you're talking about dozens of books. I particularly love Yearning, and I also love Teaching to Transgress because I think about children all the time, and that book really is really about how do we see ourselves as people who offer knowledge to young people who think that they are the future. So, yeah, that would be the one, I guess.
All right, then. Dr. Imani Perry, we surely appreciate you joining us to share your thoughts regarding the passing of author Bell Hooks. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Folks, going to a break. We come back. Kim Potter testifies on her behalf in her trial in Minneapolis for killing Daunte Wright. Lots of tears on the stand. We'll show you what took place right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Betty is saving big holiday shopping at Amazon. So now, she's free to become Bear Hug Betty. Settle in, kids. You'll be there a while. Ooh, where you going?
Hi, I'm BB Winans.
Hey, I'm Donnie Simpson.
What's up? I'm Lance Gross, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Thirty-five-year-old Deandra Chalmers was last seen walking near the Parkland Hospital on November 29th in Dallas, Texas. Deandra is 5 feet 9 inches tall, weighs 180 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. She was last seen wearing a black sweater and black pants. If anyone knows of Deandra's whereabouts, please contact the Dallas Police Department Missing Persons Unit at 214-671-4268, 214-671-4268. Today in Minneapolis, the former Brooklyn Center police officer on trial for fatally shooting Daunte Wright took the stand on her behalf. During direct examination, Kimberly Potter told the jury she did not realize she had fired the gun instead of her taser during the April traffic stop until Wright cried out that he had been shot.
With Officer Lucky and the driver at the door, the driver was trying to get back into the car.
Well, he was trying to get back in the car. What did you do?
I went around Officer Lucky as they're trying to get back in the door. I'm between the door and Officer Lucky and the driver. And the driver's getting into the car.
And what happened next?
They're still struggling, and I can see Sergeant Johnson and the driver struggling over the gear shift because I can see Johnson's hand and then I can see his face.
And you knew Johnson for many years before this, is that right?
Yes.
And by looking at his face at that point in time, what did you interpret it to mean?
He had a look of fear on his face. It's nothing I'd seen before.
Did you say anything when you saw this? What did you do?
We were struggling. We were trying to keep him from driving away. It just went chaotic. And then I remember yelling, "Taser, taser, taser," and nothing happened. And then he told me I shot him.
Can you proceed, or you?
Yes. On Mr. Wright, did you?
No.
Never saw a gun.
No.
He never threw a punch. Right?
No.
Never kicked anyone.
No.
Never said, I'm going to kill you.
No.
Never said, I'm going to shoot you.
No.
Never said, there's a gun in the car and I'm coming after you.
No.
Okay. It's not uncommon in your experience to find someone who has a warrant during a traffic stop, right?
It's not uncommon.
And you've done hundreds of traffic stops in your career, correct?
I don't know if hundreds, but yes, I've done plenty of traffic stops.
And gross misdemeanor offenses are not the same as felony offenses. Fair?
Correct. They're different order by the judge.
Less
For the crime.
serious crimes, correct?
All crimes are serious, but yes.
Well, in terms of the laws of the state of Minnesota that you're duty-bound to enforce, a gross misdemeanor is a lesser offense than a felony, correct?
Yes.
In court in this case, a conversation about the Wright brothers. You made a comment about the Wright brothers joking about not the ones that fly, right?
Yes.
And then any concerns about whether there was some other Wright family in the area? Sergeant Johnson told you not that family, not this situation, right?
I wasn't sure who they were.
Okay. Your aid and communicate information to other officers, right?
Yes.
And it's part of your job to assist those who are hurt or injured, true?
Yes.
And to communicate to other officers what you know about a particular scene, right?
Yes.
Give them whatever information you can to help them do their jobs, to help render assistance, things like that, right?
Yes.
But you didn't do any of those things on April 11th, did you?
No.
You stopped doing your job completely. You didn't communicate what happened over the radio, right?
No.
You didn't make sure any officers knew what you had just done, right?
No.
You didn't run down the street and try to save Daunte Wright's life, did you?
No.
You didn't check on the other car that had been hit, did you?
No.
That all happened just down the road from you.
Yes.
You were focused on what you had done, because you had just killed somebody. Right?
I'm sorry it happened. I'm so sorry.
Ms. Potter, from your reaction today, and from your reaction on your video, you didn't plan to use deadly force that day, did you?
No.
You didn't want to use deadly force, did you?
That's irrelevant. If she planned it or wanted it, it's a constructive offense.
The objection is overruled.
No.
Because you knew that deadly force was unreasonable and unwarranted in those circumstances.
I didn't want to hurt anybody.
You didn't want to hurt anybody.
No.
And that's why you said, I'm going to go to prison.
I don't.
That's 3 times now, Your Honor. Repetition.
All right. The objection is sustained.
Ms. Potter, you know the difference between left and right, don't you?
All right, Matt Manning, I want to start with you. I mean, is there a plausible defense? Oop, my bad.
A little bit, to an extent. But I'll tell you this. Let me first say, everything in a courtroom is intentional. For all your viewers out there, they have her dressed this way purposely. I'm sure her attorneys told her, if you get emotional, do not stop, crying. All of those things are, unfortunately, what lawyers try to leverage in front of a jury. And here, if you look at the picture, they've made her look as homely, and I mean no disrespect, but as homely, as maternal, as accessible. We're talking Minnesota, right? So this is all intentional. And I say that in support of saying, if you notice, she didn't even use Daunte Wright's name. She continued to say the driver. I guarantee you her attorneys want to depersonalize Mr. Wright and make it seem as though she's just a good officer doing her job. But I would say here, the tears are for fears. They're to try to impart to the jury the idea that she was so afraid for that, a couple things are happening. One, she was afraid for her own safety, but the ancillary thing is that she was afraid for the safety of this other officer. They're trying to establish a defense of third person defense that'll essentially say, even if she wrongfully shot him, she's within the bounds of the law because she had a reasonable apprehension that her other officer was going to be hurt. Now, we know that's cockamamie because, in fact, she reached for the wrong weapon, which is absurd if you've had 26 years of training. But in terms of making people think, there is, I think, a chance that at least one juror will, potentially bite that argument. And that's what viewers need to know. In the criminal justice system, a conviction has to be unanimous. So they can get a hung jury off one person buying what we're seeing here, which I think is a pretty good acting job, but it's all intentional. And that's very important for people to know that I think that's the defense they're going for. They're trying to attack the intentionality, which is why you hear her saying so frequently, I didn't mean to do it. It wasn't purposeful, trying to say it's an accident. And even if it isn't an accident, it's okay because I feared for my other officer's safety. That's what you're seeing at play here.
The issue here, Faraj, is, I didn't mean to do it, but somebody is dead as a result of her actions.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's the big issue. But I'm wondering how much does the part of her screaming out taser, taser, taser will play into this? I mean, and Matt, I think you're making up some excellent points, saying that from everything, the way she's dressing and to the emotion. But I mean, the part that she says taser, 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 I can't personally get past that. I'm wondering if that is going to be like the Achilles heel of this case, where she's not going to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law because she announced taser, even though she reached for her service revolver, her service weapon. So I'm wondering, you spoke about intentionality, the intention behind this whole situation. The intention seems to be a huge part of this whole case because she said taser. You can clearly hear it on the video. But then at the same time, as the prosecutor said, that you didn't reach out for the other folks. You didn't see what happened to Daunte Wright. You didn't see what happened to the other cars. I mean, the intention is certainly a big part of this. But that one little piece where she says taser, 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 I'm thinking that just might be a situation that to give her just a little leeway in the minds of those jurors. I don't know. You know what I mean? We have dealt with, and we've talked about it endlessly on this show, many cases where there have been those small lines, small details that have often been kind of like disregarded. But in this case, it's still hard for me to see that there's going to be justice served for the family of Daunte Wright just because she yelled out taser, taser, taser. Matt, Brother Roland, am I wrong on this?
May I have permission to respond?
Well, also is just so sick. Yeah, Matt, go ahead.
I was just going to say really quickly, I think that's a great question, but I think the intentionality here is precisely the issue insofar as that's what she's saying. I was trying to reach for my taser. I didn't have the intent to do this act that actually caused his death, is what I'm getting at. So that's, I think, what her defense attorneys are trying to attack, because generally homicide statutes, manslaughter statutes are going to have an intentional element. And that's exactly what they're lobbying for. Not only was this not intentional, however, even if it was intentional, she had a defense of third person statute or defense. And the way that works very quickly is generally you're entitled to a defense if there's a scintilla or a very small amount of evidence showing that you should get an instruction in a jury charge, which is why they asked her all those questions about the other officer on the other side of the car. That's what you're seeing them try to establish right now.
The thing here, Michael, that when you watch this, her attorneys have already laid the groundwork by saying, if she's found guilty, they want the judge to sentence her and not the jury. But we also know in many of these cases, juries give the police officers extreme benefit of the doubt. And so it's not clear cut that she's going to be convicted in this case.
No, it's not clear cut. Now, the prosecution did a really good job today And as I said before on the show last Friday, I knew she was going to break down crying on the witness stand. They had her dressed like a soccer mom today to get some sympathy also. But, you know, what's really, it's a number of things that are really damaging. The body cam footage of what happened right after she shot Daunte Wright. She said, I'm going to prison. She said, I killed a boy. She didn't say anything about fearing for her life. She didn't say anything about trying to protect other officers, anything like that. She said, holy sugar honey iced tea, I just shot him. She said, I grabbed the wrong effing gun. I shot him. Okay. But then the prosecution today went on to talk about how, so, you know, after Daunte Wright was shot, the car drove off. It hits another car. When other officers arrived on the scene, Officer Kim Potter didn't tell the other officers exactly what happened and did not try to render aid to Daunte Wright either, who was down the street and crashed into another car. So, yeah, you know, a lot came out today, and we know the defense rested today as well. So it's not clear cut that she's going to be convicted, but the prosecution did a good job. I really don't think a lot of her testimony today really helped her. The tears did help, but the testimony is different than the tears.
Well, guess what? Juries can be very emotional in terms of what they buy. And as Matt said, all you need is one to say not guilty. So we'll be following this to its conclusion. All right, folks, got to go to a break. We come back more on Roland Martin Unfiltered right here from the Black Star Network. President Joe Biden speaks to South Carolina State for commencement today. We'll show you some of what he had to say. Back in a moment.
I need to try it first.
I'm Chrisette Michelle.
Hi, I'm Chaley Rose, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Well, while we are here in Atlanta for the 2021 Cricket Wireless Celebration Bowl between South Carolina State and Jackson State, President Joe Biden was actually speaking at the South Carolina State commencement today. Congressman Jim Clyburn, who's a graduate of South Carolina State, did not walk across the stage when he finished it a number of years ago, but got a chance to do so today. And, of course, you know, was paid back by having Biden come back and speak, considering it was Clyburn who made it possible for him to win the nomination. Here's some of what Biden had to say.
Anything like the unrelenting assault on the right to vote. Never. I don't think any of you have on this stage ever seen. Not a joke. And folks, you know, as John Lewis said, it is the only, without the right to vote, there is no democracy. It's not just about who gets to vote or making it easier as we used to try to do to make people eligible to be able to vote. It's about who gets to count the vote, whether your vote counts at all. Folks, I was chairman of the Judiciary Committee for a long time. At the end of my stint, before I became vice president, I was able to pass the extension of the Voting Rights Act for 25 years, and guess what? And convince Strom Thurmond of South Carolina to vote for it. No, not a joke. I thought we're finally beginning to move. But this new sinister combination of voter suppression and election subversion, it's un-American. It's undemocratic, and sadly, it is unprecedented since Reconstruction. Vice President Harris is leading the efforts for us, but on the anniversary of Bloody Sunday, I directed every single federal agency in the United States government to promote access to voting, and each agency is heading and heeding the call. HBCUs have helped produce 40% of all the black engineers in America. 50% of all the black lawyers in America. 70% of all the black doctors and dentists in America. And 80% of all the black judges in America. Folks, I see HBCU excellence every single day in my administration, and I'm not exaggerating. Vice President Harris, my cabinet, Michael Reagan, Administrator of the EPA, senior White House staff across my entire administration, graduates, I'm here to congratulate you, but also to let you know that your country, this is not hyperbole, is counting on you. They're counting on you to turn the dial at a moment we have a chance to do it. And that I'm committed to doing everything I can to make real the promise of America for all Americans, for all of you. That's why my administration has delivered $5 billion so far to HBCUs just this year. Just this year. And more to come. Because there's nothing you're unable to do if you have the product. If you have the laboratories, if you have, well, a lot of these HBCUs aren't endowed like these other universities.
Okay, that all sounds great, Faraji, talking about the importance of democracy and the right to vote, but the reality is this here. They have not passed the For the People Act. They have not passed the John Lewis Act. Senator Chuck Schumer insists this is going to get done by 2022. The reality is Republicans are moving forward quickly with these voter suppression bills, and they are desperately trying to lock in their advantage with this also political gerrymandering for the next decade. President Biden has got to do more than just give speeches.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things that just stuck out for me, and just in that clip, Brother Roland, is the fact that he said that we're counting on you. Look, the president, to the president, respectfully, no, sir, you can't put the onus and that burden on us, because guess what? Black people come out to vote. We've been voting. We voted for the Democratic Party, and we've just been voting in the system for many years. And the next generation of college students have been voting as well. We saw that in President Obama's election. No, we're counting on you to get on track with where we are trying to go. And it's all good. Yes, you can boast $5 billion to HBCUs, but HBCUs the infrastructure is crumbling and the resources are drying up. So $5 billion is good, is a good start. But these HBCUs, if you want to there's a difference between managing and then actually putting money to take this thing to the next level. And so HBCUs need more support. I mean, they need it's like a mandate every year that they're going to get billions of dollars, just as much as we do other colleges, just as much as we do countries like Israel and other places. There needs to be that level of mandate and that level of commitment. The final point is that, look, what are you asking us to do in this moment? If there's a stall in the Congress, if there's a stall between Republicans and Democrats, then what do you expect the people to do? We came out in full force in the streets last year to push for the George Floyd Policing Act. Guess what happened? Nothing. We got a lot of talk, but nothing even happened. I mean, we can all bear witness to the simple fact that that bill needed to be passed. So what I'm hearing from the president is just a lot of rhetoric, and it's not leading to any real change. And then at this point, we got to ask ourselves. There was a fantastic opinion piece that was in the New York Times called "How to Tell When Your Country is Past the Point of No Return" by Mr. Thomas Edsall. And Mr. Edsall said, "Look at what the Republicans are doing. Look at where democracy is in this state of the country. The polarization, the partisanship." That's stuff that's happening right there at the executive level. Mr. President, what are you doing about that? Are you using your bully pulpit to push things forward that you know that is going to be best for young Black people coming out of these HBCUs? No. You don't need to count on us. We need to count on you. We need to see that you're going to come through on the promises that you said you're going to do. If you say you're serious about making sure that we're doing what we need to do, then guess what? We need to see it. Not just talk about it, we need to see it. That way we can feel it in our actual lives.
But Michael, the reality is when it comes to HBCU funding, the reality is they have received over the last 18 months a significant amount of money, loan forgiveness as well for infrastructure. Absolutely. So those things have happened. In fact, Tennessee State is a perfect example. Tennessee State is a state institution. Tennessee State has received more money from the federal government than they have received from the state of Tennessee, whose job is to fund them. So the reality is the federal government's job is not to fund HBCUs completely. Many of these are state institutions. The states are supposed to be doing it. Jackson State, state institution. South Carolina State, state. Prairie View A&M, state. Texas Southern, state. I can go on and on and on. And so, when we talk about HBCUs, there are public HBCUs and private HBCUs. And so there's been a lot of money that have been flowing to HBCUs over the past 18 months. On the issue of voting, though, look, Biden has to be as aggressive in going after Manchin and Sinema and others in demanding a carve out of the filibuster for voting rights as they did when it came to the debt ceiling.
Yeah, Roland, HBCUs have gotten more basically from this administration than I think in 1 year than previously any other administration. With voting rights as well as the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, but especially voting rights, I think this week has been a turning point. I talked about it on my show because, one, the information coming out of the January 6th committee showed how detailed and well-planned the attempted insurrection was. Two, there were two important meetings that took place this week with Democratic senators. One was on Thursday, a virtual meeting Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris had with 6 Democratic senators. And then earlier in the week, I think it was Wednesday, civil rights leaders, Derek Johnson from the NAACP, met with some key Democratic senators, and Senator Kristen Sinema was one of them, even though she didn't say anything on the call. That meeting was organized by Michigan U.S. Senator Gary Peters. And Senator Hassan from New Hampshire has changed her position and realizes, look, she was on the Rachel Maddow show yesterday, that they have to pass this bill and they're going to have to make a change to the filibuster. So we have to keep pushing, hold Joe Biden accountable, but also somebody whose name doesn't come up oftentimes in these conversations, Roland and the panel, is Senator Chuck Schumer, who controls the Senate. He's Senate Majority Leader. Pressure has to be put on Senator Chuck Schumer as what? See, notice how Senator Chuck Schumer's name just oftentimes, I know you talk about him, Roland, but oftentimes in these conversations, his name is not even brought up that much. Senator Chuck Schumer controls the Senate. He's Senate Majority Leader. So it's pressure on Biden, continued pressure on Senator Chuck Schumer. But lastly, Roland, July 14th, 2021, NBC News had an article, more than 150 companies back update to Voting Rights Act. PepsiCo, Macy's, IKEA, Nestle, Amazon, Target. Now, either these companies have gone out of business since July 2021, or they have amnesia because I haven't heard a peep out of them when we have this intensification of voting rights. So we have to put pressure on these corporations as well. We have to continue this. We have to see this through. This is not the time to give up.
And Matt, on that particular point, these major law firms supposedly were going to be dedicating resources to fighting for voting rights, as Michael said, these companies as well, and they've all been MIA. And this is what I've said to civil rights groups like the NAACP. This is not just about having meetings. This is why you got to have public pressure. This is why the NAACP, with its 2,000 branches, should be throwing up pickets and protests in front of these corporations and these major law firms saying, "Where are you?" Okay, look. Black Voters Matter, they've been out there. Poor People's Campaign, Reverend William Barber, Reverend Liz Theo Harris, they've been out there. For these civil rights groups, look, stop having the inside meeting. You got to have the external pressure on this administration and the United States Senate.
Stop accepting the rhetoric about a chicken in the pot, but when it comes time to it, taking a couple wings. Look, at the end of the day, if you say you're going to do these things, then you need to be held accountable. And I think Michael spoke right to it. Corporations especially need to have this pressure put on them because we know that they respond to the corporations far faster than they respond to us. So if the corporations say that they're going to do it, if we find a way to continue leveraging those corporations and these big law firms, then I think consequentially it'll mean that there will be actual progress going forward. And we have to stay on that. You know, I think a lot of times, unfortunately, we buy some of that rhetoric and we forget about it down the road. I mean, not the three of you and the many others who are very well informed, but the larger people see sound bites, they buy that and say, okay, they're fighting for me, when they really aren't. So we need to stay on them and make sure that the promises that are being made are actually being fulfilled.
All right, folks, let's talk about some good news here. That is New York City is getting its first female police commissioner. The city's mayor-elect Eric Adams has chose Keishant Sewell to lead the nation's largest police department. Adams praised Sewell's career with over 25 years of experience in undercover assignments, overseeing gun suppression cases, hostage negotiations, and commanding detective squads. Sewell is currently Nassau County's chief of detectives. She was promoted to the position in September 2020, becoming the first black woman to hold that role. She's not the first African-American to lead the department, but she indeed is the first woman to lead the department. So congratulations to her on that pick. Also, President Biden has nominated Sandra Thompson to be the permanent director of the Federal Housing and Finance Agency. If confirmed, she'll be the first woman in that particular role as well. Thompson is currently the acting director of the agency, which oversees Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae mortgage companies. She has extensive finance and government regulation background and also worked at the FDIC. Vice President Kamala Harris is pushing a new initiative to eliminate lead from homes and other buildings. The Biden administration, they pledged to remove all lead pipes in America in the next decade.
Lead is built into our cities, it is laid under our roads, and it is installed in our homes. And that is why we decided to launch this action plan here in this House of Labor. Because unions know how to do great things. And it is right there in the original motto of the AFL-CIO, labor conquers all. So we need your help to conquer these challenges. We need your help to make millions of homes, schools, and workplaces safe for everyone. And we need your help to make sure this is the beginning of the end for lead in America. So let us get to work.
And 61 years after she was arrested at the age of 15 for refusing to give up her seat to a white woman, Claudette Colvin, she has had her record expunged. That's right, a judge in Alabama expunged her record. She was arrested, of course, for refusing to give her seat to a white woman. Her run-in with the law happened 9 months before Rosa Parks' case and was part of a Supreme Court case that ended busing segregation. Colvin was sentenced to indefinite probation after her arrest and conviction. And so it's a better late than never, I say, Michael.
Yeah, you know, I talked about this on my show last night, Roland. Claudette Colvin, she's a legend as well. She's more like an unsung hero. She was 15 years old. She refused to give up her seat. She had, she was charged. One of the charges was assaulting a police officer. Now, what's really important to understand is that the Supreme Court case that you mentioned, Browder versus Gale, She was one of the plaintiffs, Aurelia S. Browder, Mary Louise Smith, Susan McDonald, and Claudette Colvin. The attorney was Fred Gray, who you've interviewed, Roland. They filed that lawsuit. It went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, and that's what ended segregation on the buses. So she is really an unsung hero. She deserves more credit as well. No disrespect to Sister Rosa. Rosa deserves all the credit. She had to leave Montgomery, Alabama, because she was getting death threats, and Representative John Conyers gave her a job here in Detroit in his congressional office. But Claudette Colvin, I'm glad this is for her. I'm glad this expungement happened, and hats off to the sister as well. She's an unsung hero.
Matt Manning, your thoughts?
I just think it's wonderful. It's far too late, of course, and some of it is optics. But I'll say I had the great pleasure of meeting Fred Gray when he came here a couple years ago, and he's a titan. He's literally one of the people that inspired me to become a lawyer, and a civil rights lawyer at that. I mean, he was 24 years old defending Dr. King and those who were fighting for our rights, with violence in their face. So I think it's a brilliant thing, and I'm glad for it. She joked that she's no longer a juvenile delinquent at 82, so I appreciate her humor about the situation. But it's unfortunate insofar as, it's another sign of the optics. A lot of times, it has to be 66 years, an entire lifetime, before they expunge her for this, her crime for this injustice. I think that's problematic. But outside of that, I do think it's a good thing, and I'm happy for her. And I'm happy for the fact that Alabamans and the state decided that this is something that needed to finally happen, because I think it's emblematic of showing, look, we're going to hold you to account to fix even past injustices. So I think there is a value in that.
Final comment for Raji.
Just real quick. I agree with both Brother Michael and Matt. It's just really sad that at this point, it's hard to celebrate 66 years. It's like, damn, man, it's just hard to celebrate. You can't even really, all you can do is just say, okay. That's it. There's no celebration. Our dear sister, 80 in her 80s. At this point, she's not a threat to anyone. And you mean to tell me that the state of Alabama couldn't have done this 25 years ago, 40, 30 years ago, 40 years ago? It's and I'm with Matt on this. It's a lot about the optics.
We are talking about Alabama.
Yeah, well, that's true. I'm just saying.
And we're from Texas.
Make an excellent point. That's a great point, Brother Roland. But I'm just saying, it's like a Pyrrhic victory at this point. It's just okay, I'm happy it's happening. I'm glad it's got done. But that woman had to carry that weight for pretty much damn near her whole life. So at this point, in her golden years, may God bless her with many, many years to go, but pretty much in her golden years, it's not going to really make a difference. This is not a win for Alabama. This is not a win. This is a slap in the face, because it took you 66 damn years to do the right thing. So it's
all right, gentlemen.
And I'm glad.
Gentlemen, I appreciate it. That is it for us. We're going to be broadcasting live tomorrow from the Coca-Cola Fan Zone outside the Mercedes-Benz Stadium here in Atlanta for the 2021 Cricket Wireless Celebration Bowl. Game time is at noon, so we'll be live at 9 a.m. Eastern tomorrow right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. Michael, Faraji, Matt, thanks a bunch for joining us today. I want to thank all the folks also here in Atlanta for making it possible for us to do what we did this week with all of the coverage. And so we look forward to bringing you more sights and sounds of the Celebration Bowl tomorrow, live right here on the Black Star Network. Thanks a bunch. Y'all take care. Holla!
Hooks.